part 5 of the Art and Practice of Boxing by an anonymous source from 1825. This will be the last in this manual of our old school boxing videos, and we got a lot to cover, so let's look at it. All right, so our first part that we're going to look at today is a punch drill that is actually really fun. It's lots of fun because we're going to punch Mike. So we're going to get into a guard stance. He's going to get into a guard stance. He's not allowed to use these bad boys. He's not allowed to defend himself. All he can do is void the punch by sitting into his back leg, voiding by dipping his chin and head back. So I'm going to first check range. I can make contact. I can push through and hit Mike's face. So now Mike, as we rewind out of this position, we come back here, and now I'm going to start out nice and slow, and I'm going to jab towards his face. His job is to sit back. So the big thing to caution people against is doing this, looking up towards the ceiling. So if Mike goes, do it wrong, look up like this. This is a bad job. We want to sit into that back leg, sit into that back leg, moving the head back, jutting the chin back, creating just enough space to come here to this position. All right, so the very first thing that we need to focus on when we're doing this, I can do this, alternate hands, change up the speed and the pattern that we do when we do this. He needs to make sure that he's slipping and avoiding each of these. Important. But more importantly, what he talks about in the manual is this position. Is I'm here, and the tendency is to whoop, boom, no, stop that. We want to come back with this arm, choo-choo train it, and throw this big power strike, right? I'm going to blast him this way. I'm going to wind up for this strike. Don't do it, because if I pull my arm back, now you can do it. Boom. This is what he says. If you see someone pull their arm back, wham, right there into the face. So I want to keep my guard here, throw it straight, throw it straight, throw it straight. So a nice, simple, quick drill that you guys can play with on your own. Just keeping your guard straight line right from where you are, straight in there. Change it up, do lead hand, do rear hand, change up the pattern, however you want to play with it. And the person doesn't get to block it. They simply sit back into it. All right, great drill. Let's look at the next part. All right, so the next part of this, number 2, we are on grab defenses. So this is, he is kind of dismissive of grabbing. He says it's in the wheelhouse of wrestling, which, yeah, but it was still allowed. It wasn't barred in the rules. You could still do it. It just wasn't, you know, considered artful boxing, right? So the things that he says is the common person, the common wrestler, thing they're going to do. And the image is actually kind of interesting. He kind of Homer Simpson styles this, arms coming forward like this, and he says that they're going to try and trip. So off balancing this direction and then using the leg down below for a trip. So we're going to switch positions. Do it with your right leg. So if Mike is the person trying to grab onto me, first thing that he says to do is as they come in, boom, just give them a straight blow. Like, this is kind of the answer, our solution to everything, which it's nice to see that boxers and wrestlers are still, even back then, going at it between which one can take who. And it's been a debate that's going on for ages. All right, so as my grappler here tries to step in and grapple me, I'm going to give him a straight blow. He moves in, I'm going to give him another straight blow. And what he describes is give him a straight blow, he has to deal with it, and then get back out. And just kind of wear him down, just beat him down until they stop it. You know, it's one of these, stop it, boom, stop it, get back. And then eventually they'll stop it and try and do some boxing skills, or if they continue on. Now, he gives us a couple things to play with if they keep doing this grapple. So again, he comes in here, he tries to get this leg behind my leg to slip me up. So what he says is, as this is happening, so first thing is, if his eyes look down to spot my foot to do the thing, that's kind of the first indicator that they're going to grapple. So I first start by trying to pop him in the face. If that doesn't work and he does get in for this grapple and he closes his space, I in that instant. So we're gonna go super slow with this. Slow it down as that foot is coming in. Whoa, I'm gonna slip around this direction, and then I'm using this to counter that. So it's this counter, slipping his leg, counter grappling to his grapple. So that's the first technique that we work on. And this is actually pretty common. We see this all the time. So the foot comes in, and I slip around this direction, and now I'm off balancing Mike. So it actually works really well. It's a good technique. The next one is actually really fun for me because I've actually been teaching this technique for years in my Tai Chi classes, and it looks like so. So if he's here, he's trying to move in for this grapple. The first thing that we're going to do is lock this arm off. We're going to change directions again so they can see. We're going to lock this arm off. We're here, and I'm going to slip this hand down and around. So it's coming up, and as I enter, I'm going to take my left leg behind his right leg. This arm is going to come up underneath, and I'm going to try and catch here at this arm. So we're in this position. From here, we have just an easygoing boom, boom, striking, beating him back. So we're here one more time. We enter this direction. If I can catch at this far arm, so you guys can see in the camera, I'm catching at this far arm, getting at his elbow, and then I have ribs, I have stomach, I have face. And it does say that a stronger person is eventually going to get out this, but for a brief second while you surprise them with your cool technique, you're just willy-nilly just going to town on the ribs, on their face. So you might get 2 or 3 strikes in that they said. Love this technique. This is one of my personal favorites. We actually practice this off of in a sort of a flow. So give me a right, left, right. 1, 2, 3, and then come up around this position and move in. We do this in class all the time. All right, so those are his counter grapple techniques. Next, we're going to look at some dropping, gouging, and some footwork. So let's take a look at those. All right, this next section, part 3, we're going to talk about dropping. So what in the world is dropping? Dropping is an unmanly skill that's used if the person is going to counter your strikes. They're going to come back with a powerful blow, or they're going to grapple you into a disadvantaged position. So what's happening is, say we're on guard. I give Mike a beautiful strike. I hit him in the face. Boom, he takes that. He comes back, and he's about to just obliterate me, right? This person has the look in the eyes, and if you've ever done any sort of sparring, competitive martial arts, you know the look I'm talking about, that rage look, right? He's about to just wail on me. So what he says is, and you're not supposed to do this. This is considered an unmanly skill, but we know the rule sets that were common of this day, the Broughton rules and other rules of the age, that you weren't allowed to strike a person while they were down. So what they say to do, Mike is about to wail on me, and I just, boom. And it's giving me a split second to reset, to get out of that position. So if this person is about to charge you, he does say this against grappling, like if he's really coming in for like a grapple, I can take this position and now I have a chance to get back up and do my thing, right? He can't continue on because I'm on the ground. All right, so dropping, don't do it. Okay, so this next part is gouging. So this is actually the first time that I know of that we see gouging being referenced in manuals. And to quote, it's unmanly and barbarous and introduced into the new school by a farrier to take an ungenerous advantage. All right, so what are we talking about with gouging? So gouging is nowadays considered something like, it's kind of this weird thing in self-defense land where this comes up in a lot of, my martial art is too dangerous for competition because blah, 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 we'll gouge, we'll bite, we'll do this other stuff. And it's typically like you're taking your thumb and you're poking in people's eyes. Now, first of all, what I want to put out there into the internet lands for the folks that talk about eye gouging and self-defense, don't. It's not. Like, yeah, last resort, absolutely, you're going to die if you don't do this thing. Okay, it's on the table. But this day and age, we do know about bodily fluids being exchanged, and that's just nasty. So don't do that. Just don't put your finger in someone's orifices or holes or whatever. Just don't do that. I don't want Mike's eye juice on my finger. All right, so just don't do it. And they kind of had the same mentality back then. It's like, dude, that's gross, that's rude, that's unmanly. Don't do that. He does describe this being done in Mendoza versus Humphreys, but he describes it in a very interesting way that it sounds more like it wasn't gouging, like the intention wasn't to gouge an eye. In fact, they say if the intention was to gouge the eye, he would have used his thumb. But what is described, and I'm going to set this up, it sounds like, and I actually had this done last Friday in sparring. It was in this position, you're trying to knock him down over your leg, and it sounds like what happened was a position like this, and you're driving with your knuckles, or in this type of position where you're trying to set the person down and you're driving their head like this. You're just creating pressure. And in wrestling, this sort of thing happens all the time. Like we get a person in a position and you're just like smooshing their face. I call it more a smoosh than a gouge, right? You're just kind of grinding into those things, looking for a submission or whatever, looking for that pain compliance. It's not necessarily gouging, but it's in the gray zone in between. You're not sticking anything in gross holes, right? So that's gouging. Like I said, first time that it's actually, that I can think of that is referenced in material, and it's just kind of taking knuckles and driving through and around eye sockets and the nose and things like this. All right, part 5, footwork. So this next part, it's actually really interesting. Most of the manuals kind of start with footwork, and this one just saves it for just about the very last thing that we talked about. Footwork. The first thing that they talk about is the shift. And the shift is also considered one of these like unmanly type of skills that you're not supposed to use this. And then they kind of go into a rant about don't use this. It shows low skill and whatever, unless... And I always like these types of things where they describe, don't do this thing in the manual, and then they tell you, unless this happens. So unless you're a lot smaller than your opponent, so if your opponent is a lot bigger, if they're stronger, if you need to wear them down, in the first round or two, this type of skill is considered kind of fringe, like yes, it works. You can do it to wear your person down, but it's considered kind of like, work on your skill first and then do these types of tricks. So the shift, what you're doing in the shift is wherever you enter, basically you do your strike, and then from here you're going to back all the way out of it so that you're getting as far away from the person as possible. And it's described by throwing your left leg back behind you. So if I were to say be on guard and I were to, I'll do it to the camera, I do this strike, I'm stepping in, I'm striking this direction, and now I want to get the heck out of there. I take this back leg and I shift it back. I'm moving back away, back to where I started. And basically the term I use for this is sniping. You find that one good target, you jump in there, you hit it, and then you get the heck out, and you're basically just slowly wearing your opponent down. Wear them down, wear them down, wear them down. And it's not considered a skillful showing of the art because you're basically just, I'm faster than you, I'm just going to buy my time, get in, get out. This type of things like sport martial arts that focus on like first hit is based on this idea, which is really interesting. So if you're in a arena where you're trying to wear your opponent down, there is no like points. This was considered just kind of rude, gross, whatever, don't do it type of footwork. So that's the shift. And I actually wonder if the shift is where we get the term shifty. Interesting. I'm curious. Something to look into. The next part is advancing and retreating. So we've seen this in other manuals. So you take your first, which is this sort of like left foot forward fencing guard. So left foot forward, right foot back. And the advancing is just considered left foot steps, right foot gathers, step, gather, step, gather, step, gather. Nothing too unusual here. We've seen this before. Standing at square, so you're in that same guard. And if you want to close more distance, I call this a gather step. So the foot comes in and then back out, so you're gathering, you can cover more distance. So if I do just a normal advance, I cover about, you know, however much I take this step, maybe a foot or so. With the other one, I'm doubling that amount of distance because I'm taking 2 steps per. So that's the standing at square. And then retreat is basically the same thing. You're just taking this back foot and you're moving, you're moving, you're moving. Whichever direction you're going to go, that foot leads and then your other foot follows. So that's all we had for footwork for that, which I think is kind of interesting. And we don't spend much time doing footwork. We spend a lot of time doing all these drills, which are fantastic, but very little time doing any sort of footwork, which is unusual because footwork is such an important part of this. Anyway, let's look at some conclusion, the conclusion and our final thoughts on this stuff. All right, so in conclusion, the anonymous author says the three most important things: a quick eye, wind, so our conditioning, being able to keep our breath, and if you get winded, to be able to focus on your defense, and then bottom. So the phrase that we would use today is grit, your ability, your determination, your hard work, your ability to take blows and not be daunted by this. Those are the three most important things in this. My thoughts on this manual are, even though it's very, very small, we've done, what, 5 videos on this manual. It is packed with information, with stuff. It's actually got some really great imagery, which is unique also for this time. And some really interesting firsts. We looked at the first time that we did actual shadow boxing, like it was described in detail how to set this up. Some really cool, interesting things. And yes, we're looking back. We're looking at Mendoza again. We're basically plagiarizing his work in this manual, which takes up like half this is Mendoza's work is set inside. But for what this is of the time period, like it's really cool stuff. So I hope you guys enjoy looking at this. Stay tuned. We'll see what we're going to look at next and see where this goes. Thanks everybody who's been watching. Thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing. We've been getting lots and lots of feedback. So people really seem to be enjoying it. Be sure to tell your friends. I love teaching this stuff and looking at it, researching it, and I'm glad to see so many people interested in it too. So thank you, and we'll see you next time.